All right, I am making a short video about the QGIS Graphical User Interface, or GUI for short. And this video really is for those of you that are new to QGIS, but even students that have used QGIS before maybe could watch this video and learn a few new tips and tricks for using the graphical user interface efficiently. I will also post the link to the QGIS graphical user interface help file, because there's additional information about things on there that I won't cover in this video. It's meant to be short. Okay, so the 5 primary parts of the GUI that I will refer to in this video and also throughout the semester as we work back and forth and screen share, and I have you look for things when we're troubleshooting or what I'm going to focus on in this video. Okay, so there's 5 main parts. The first part is what I call the menu bar, and it is up here at the top with the main menus, I guess, or main options for your project. This is different from your toolbar, okay? So this is the main, when I say the main menu bar, I mean these things right here. If you're using a Mac, you'll have to hover over the top and this will pop up. These options will pop up. Your toolbars will be visible to you in a Mac, but your main menu won't. So you'll have to kind of hover over the top so it pops up. Okay, and in the main menu you have things like your project settings, your edit menu, your view, layer, so on, so forth. Okay, and you can read about each one of these menu options in the QGIS help section, and I encourage you to do that so you can use some of these menu options if I don't discuss them. One thing for a new QGIS user that's important is the view under view. If you ever don't have a toolbar or a panel that I'm talking about, like the layer panel or the browser panel, you go to View, Panels, and you can click on your browser panel, your layer panel. Say we're using something with the processing toolbox and you want that panel open, and you can view those, get those panels to pop up. Okay? Same thing with toolbars. Sometimes you'll have a toolbar that we don't use very often, so it won't be turned on. You can turn on various toolbars here. You want to be careful not to turn on all your toolbars at once, or it'll look kind of like my screen. So you can turn on and off toolbars through View. Okay. There are certain settings you can do. We don't really mess with the settings too much, but we had to do this week. Some of you had trouble with the georeferencer and you had to change your user profile. Sometimes I'll have different user profiles depending on what tools I have. I have a user profile specifically for doing remote sensing because there's a lot of tools in there that I don't use in other GIS projects. And so I have a separate setting for that, or user profile for those tools. Also, some plugins don't work well and cause QGIS to crash if they're in conjunction with other plugins. So making various user profiles if you use different sets of tools is not a bad idea. Keyboard shortcuts. For those of you that like to use quick keys, there is a whole suite of quick keys to use in QGIS, and you can see what they are in the QGIS help. And you can even do your own QGIS keyboard shortcuts if you would like to do set your own for something you're doing frequently. So say you like to add various polygon features and you're doing this frequently, you can make your own keyboard shortcut for that. All right, it's a little bit advanced, but you can try it. For example, a keyboard shortcut that you could use that we do frequently is Control S for saving the project. Okay. Control Z, just like you use for like a Word or some Microsoft product, you can use Control Z when you're doing various types of digitizing, and it will undo the last action. Okay. Okay. Sometimes if you hover over these tools, there you see the undo, it will tell you the quick key. Undo Z, or undo, Control Z. New polygon, Control plus comma. Okay. So save layer edits, save project, Control S. New print layout, Control P. Okay. All right, so quick keys, it'll tell you the name. If you hover over these tools, it'll tell you the name and even the quick key. Okay, that brings me to the next thing, or number 2, are the toolbars. And your toolbars will look very different from mine depending on what plugins you have and what toolbars you have activated in your view. If you ever want to know what the toolbar's name is, you can hover over the line. Oh, I don't know if it's going to let me do that. It might. You can hover over the little dots. There we go. See that little line at the beginning of the toolbar? It says digitizing toolbar. This little line right here, data source manager toolbar. That means all of these tools are part of the data source manager tools. These tools right here are the shape digitizing toolbar. This toolbar right here is a selection toolbar. So all these tools have to do with selecting features in the project. Okay. I have a lot more toolbars than you guys will have, so don't worry about it. Here's the snapping toolbar. Okay. All right. And so toolbars are really customizable as far as what you want to view and what tools you have. You can also pull them around. Like I use this selection toolbar a lot. I think I want it, over here because I'm going to use it a lot. Okay. Say the data source manager, I want to bring data in or create new files, and I want it here so I can quickly make it, and I don't have to, mess around up here. So you can move these toolbars around depending on what you do. I don't want this toolbar. I can minimize it, or go up to the view toolbars, and I can say, I really don't need to see my digitizing toolbar anymore. So make it go away. I think that's an advanced. What is this one? Shape digitizing. So I'm going to go to view toolbars. I don't need to see my shape digitizing toolbar anymore, and now it's gone. Okay. All right, so that's toolbars. The next one that I want to talk about is what we call the map legend. I have frequently referred to it as the layer panel. So here is my layers. This is layers right there, and you can move these panels all around. I like to dock mine on the left-hand side. So you pick it up by grabbing. Let's see if I can drop it now. It's not letting me drop it because I'm in a dual screen. But you pick it up by grabbing the top where the name of the panel is, and then you drop it by just letting it go. You left click to pick it up, drag it around while holding it down, left click to drop it. Okay. Sometimes it's a pain to dock them, and they'll dock where you don't want them. Okay. I'm going to move this back up here. And then I'm going to take my layer panel, which is enormous now. And I'm going to try to dock it. There we go. Okay, see, it'll kind of highlight. Another thing with these panels, so this is my layer panel or map legend, is that they will have a toolbar associated with them. So the map legend, which basically it tells what features you have in your map view. I only have one layer in there, and that's my refactored layer. These tools at the top are all tools you can use with your layers. If you click on this one, you open the layer styling panel. So now I have a layer styling panel. Because I've installed the layer styling panel, I actually can just get right to it. It just goes right to it. Otherwise, it opens up a separate window. Okay. You can group your layers. Sometimes when we're working with many layers and it gets kind of messy, you can actually group them with this tool. It's another one we use. You can do some selections or filtering of your layers. We'll do a little bit of that. And this is the remove a layer or a group button. You can also do Control D. See, that's the quick key right there to do that. Okay. I only have one layer in my map right now. But if I had numerous layers, you can click on them and choose them, and then hold on the Control key and select more than one, and then remove them. Okay. If you're done working with some layers, are temporary, so you want to remove them when you're done working with them. So this is what's called my map legend, because it tells everything that's in my map view or my layer panel. If you want your panels to be instead of being on top of each other, you want them to be docked so that they're tabbed like this. You have to dock them on top of each other like I showed you. I'll show you again because I'm going to X out my browser. I'm going to X out my SCP dock. And now I only have one panel over here, my layer panel. I'm going to go up to View, Panel. Let's turn that browser panel back on, and it tabs it. They're not always tabbed, so let me show you how to tab them. So if you start to get too many panels and they're messy, you want to tab them like I had it. You grab it by that name of the panel and you drag it, and when it kind of hovers over where you want it until it's highlighted, when it highlights you let it go. Sometimes there we go. Come on and tab. It's a little more difficult when it's two screens, but you can force it. Okay, so now they're tabbed and I can toggle back and forth between my layers and my browser. The nice thing about the browser is it shows me all my files that I can use. Okay? It's a nice way to bring in data. Okay. Here's my processing toolbox with all my tools. One thing I didn't say is that this menu are the most common tools, but you can also find these, it's a little bit redundant. You can find some of these geoprocessing tools also in the processing toolbox. Okay, so you'll find tools up here that also exist in the processing toolbox. Right, so for example, I have some vector tools here for vector analysis or vector general that also exist up here in the vector menu. Okay, so you can get to them in two different ways. Okay, so I've talked about the menu bar, and then I've talked about the toolbars, the map legend, or layer panel. And now the last two things are just very brief. There's the map window or project view. When I talk about the map view, I'm talking about this big window where you bring in your layers and where your layers are visible. Okay, important things to know about the map view, that there's tools that are specific to the map view. This toolbar right here is the map navigation toolbar. So all of these are the tools that you would use for the map view. You can, pan the map with this, or even with your left, your arrow keys on your keyboard. This button right here is pan map to selection, which you would use if you had more than one layer. Zoom, of course, this is an important one. Zoom to extent. If you say I swipe and I lose my data and I don't know where I am, I'm like, oh my gosh, where'd my data go? And I'm looking all over for it by panning. I can click this button and it brings me back to the full extent of my layers. Okay? Okay, so that's an important button to know. You can also do that by right-clicking, and you can say zoom to layer, which will take you to just a specific layer. All right? So I'm going to do something really quickly. I'm going to bring in let's see, some data. There we go. Okay, so I have some Washington counties that I'm going to bring in. Go to my layers. There they are. The Washington counties are not near this data set because they're two completely different data sets. This one doesn't have any particular reason for being here. I was just messing around. So I'm going to zoom to extent, and here's my Washington counties, and here are my polygons that I was drawing. If I want to try to find this data, I can either do zoom to extent or I can do zoom to layer, which will take me right to that Washington counties layer. Okay. Sometimes when you lose your data, you need to use these zoom to layer or zoom to extent. All right. Okay. And the last thing I want to show you, since I'm 3 times longer than I thought I was going to be, is what is called the status bar down here on the bottom. And in the status bar, there's a couple things you should notice. There's your coordinates are right here. So as you pan around your map, your coordinates will change. They're specific to where you are. Notice that my coordinates are in latitude, longitude. Okay. And then I can confirm that because I am in WGS 84, which is a geographic coordinate system, and they are always in degrees of, or units of degrees. My scale is listed here As I zoom in and zoom out, my scale changes. Another thing that's important here is I can change my project CRS. Remember how this map view will have a CRS? And then your layer will have a CRS. So the layer that I brought in is in 4269. My map view is in 4326. And I want to view this in Albers equal area. So I'm going to click on that code. It opens a window, my project properties. I can also get to this window by clicking on project and going down to properties with a shortcut. I am going to choose a different CRS for my project view. It does not change this data layer. I'm going to use 102003. It's more specific to the Northwest, not the whole US. I'm going to transform my data. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom to layer. Oh, it doesn't change the look of it. It must not have transformed. Let's try it again. Maybe 5070 will change it. So this is good to know. This is actually, I always say this is good, but it's annoying still. I am transforming my data or trying to get the project view to change to 5070, and it is not doing it. And how do I know it's not doing it? One, it's not changing it to meters here. And two, it's not changing the view from that stretched out distorted view to what I know an equal area would look like, which would be a more accurate representation of the shape of Washington State. Why is it not doing this? I probably have too many things open on my computer. Okay, so let's try to ask it. I'm going to try to ask it again one more time. Let's say I really do want it in equal area. Maybe I'll put it in NAT83 first and then into equal area. Okay. So now I'm going to try to do equal area. So if you run into this problem, which I'm assuming if you did Lab 3 last semester or you did try to do Lab 3 this semester, you might have run into it. If you run into this problem where when you're changing the project CRS and it's not changing the view of your data, and if you're expecting the coordinates to go from a geographic coordinate system, if that's what the project was before, to one that has units of meters. How do I know this has units of meters? I'll show you. It'll say right here, units of meters. And you're not getting that change, then the transformation on the fly did not work. So what I would recommend you do is shut down, save everything, shut down QGIS, start it up again, perhaps turn off some of your internet tabs, shut your computer down, restart, and try that transformation again, and it should work. Okay, so anyway, you can change your project CRS right here, and it should change your view of your data. And then one last thing with the status bar is there's a locator right here, and this helps you do a quick search for tools. Say I want to do some clipping, I can type in clip right there, and then all my clip tools show up. Okay, make sure you choose the right one. There's one other thing that will happen here that students sometimes do. If I have a tool or a layer that's highlighted and I do a search, that option allows me to edit just the selected features. Sometimes you don't want to do that, so make sure you choose the clip that's underneath the processing algorithms that's highlighted. Okay, you'll get different setting options if you do that. So now with this clip, I get the tool that pops open when I choose that. So this is a quick search if you want to search for tools this way and not have to dig around in the menu bar if you don't know where they are. Okay, and you can type in letters here and find a tool immediately. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. It was really a much longer video than I thought, but that's mostly because this didn't work. I could try shutting down QGIS and starting it again, but it takes my QGIS a long time to start up and get going because of all the tools I have. Another reason not to necessarily have a lot of toolbars. But so anyway, let me know if you guys run into any problems or have questions. I will put the link to the graphical user interface user help file, and you can take a look at that in addition to this video.